The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show post-game edition. The Maple Leafs defeating the Florida Panthers 3-2 and securing a playoff spot for the 9th straight season. I think before we dive into anything, we should just acknowledge that fact. A lot of times, anyone who covers this team, us included, we spend a lot of time just going on about the negative and just getting upset every year when they don't go deep. And it's just, I don't think that we spend enough time focusing on the fact that this is 9 straight years that this team has clinched a playoff berth. And we watched a lot of shit in this market for a really long time. And I think I'm the first one to say that I'm ready to drive Brendan Shanahan to the airport, but you got to give the organization credit. 9 straight years in the playoffs is pretty impressive.
Well, that's where the fear comes in of potentially moving on from some players because, I mean, it's been pretty nice making the playoffs for 9 straight years. Imagine doing this podcast in 2015.
Oh my God. Or doing this podcast in the Kessel, Lupul, Phaneuf years where they looked like, you want to talk about November goats. Those guys were November goats, and then the 18-wheeler. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now, Ryan. We're here to talk about the Leafs defeating the Florida Panthers. When the broadcast kicked off tonight, we found out that Alexander Barkov would not be in the lineup, and I think everyone right away was like, all right, you're getting a banged-up Florida Panthers team that is on the second half of a back-to-back. You got to win this game.
There was no excuses. It put all the pressure on them. You look at that lineup, it's like Barkov's out. Barkov's an animal. Kachuk's going to be out for the rest of the year. They lose to Montreal 2 times in a row. They're on the second half to a back-to-back. All the pressure was on the Leafs to win this game, and it was a fucking tight game.
It was a playoff atmosphere. I think it was just another one of those games similar to Saturday night against the LA Kings. It was just like every inch of ice is contested. The Florida Panthers, man, like they are a physical hockey team. They finish every single check. Like whoever they play in the first round, whether it's the Leafs or the Lightning or whoever, you're gonna at the end of that series, you are not gonna be 100%. That is a tough hockey team. Yeah. But I thought the Leafs started really well. I thought they were really good and were the better team and took it to them for most of the first period. Then the second period, they give up a goal pretty quickly, and you're like, oh my God. And it kind of takes the wind out of everyone's sails. And I thought they kind of slowed down after that, and Florida took it to them. And then, listen, man, the second line of John Tavares, William Nylander, and Bobby McMann has been excellent since they've been put together a few games ago. And I thought they were excellent again tonight. William Nylander was spectacular tonight.
Can somebody jog my memory of, like, this isn't the first time this line has been put together.
No, but they seem to have gelled better this time.
So, like, when you look at the team, it's pretty obvious who the top goal scorers are from top to bottom. So your top 6 is full of your 6 best offensive guys. So, I mean, they're talking about this line like we just discovered plutonium. It's like, no, this has been here the entire time. I don't understand why this is all of a sudden the greatest newfound experiment. It's like, well, you put your top 6 goal scorers in the top 6, and now they're performing.
They seem to just have gelled better this time. Like that's the best way I can put it. Like they just look like it's a better fit. Bobby McMann had a little stretch there where he wasn't really looking like himself. And since he's been put back on this line, he's really sort of kicked it into high gear again. But they're bringing the best of the Tavares, gets another goal tonight. And like I said, Forsling gets the goal and he kind of roofs it on Stolarz, and you're like, oh man, like, come on, don't do this. And that line gets them right back in it. And that line was excellent from start to finish again. And that's going to be a huge line for them going into the playoffs. Like, that's going to be a line that you're going to rely on. We've talked a few times this year about, like, in hindsight, it was huge for them not having Bobby McMann available in the playoffs last year. And he's going to be a key piece for them, whoever they play in the playoffs this year.
I mean, they even pulled it up on the broadcast tonight where it wasn't McMahon, but they're 18-2-2 now, 19-2-2 when Matthew Nye scores a goal, and I'm guessing it's relatively the same when Bobby McMann scores a goal. So basically, if Bobby McMann and Matthew Nye are not contributing in the playoffs, they're not going to win.
Yep. So we head to the second intermission, and I text you. I'm like, "Where is Mitch Marner? Haven't seen him." I thought up until that point, I thought Matthews had been pretty good. Nyes have been pretty good, but it's just like we need more out of Mitch Marner. And man, did he deliver in the third period. He ends up getting the second star of the game, a goal and an assist, a beauty goal at that. Then he sets Matt Nyes up later. Like, just all-world Mitch Marner setup for Matthew Nyes.
Yeah, and you can be invisible all game if you then show up and make a big play at some point in the game that changes the whole face of it. So you can that just shows you that things can be erased very quickly if you just come through in a big moment, a big spot to give your team a lead. That's
yeah, and it's like the recipe for success. And I know that the naysayers will say the Panthers are banged up, but then I'll say, like, all the more reason why you should have won this hockey game.
Yeah, I don't for this win tonight. I don't read into any of it when it comes to playoff hockey. I really don't. I'm not going to try and make any comparisons of what they've done tonight to if they do this in the playoffs and they'll be successful. I think it was just a very important night to take advantage of a banged up team to further pad your lead in the division. That's all this night was about. Was just get that 2 points to get ahead of them. Further ahead of them in the division because they need to win this division. I firmly stand by that. And that's all tonight was about, and they got it done.
Well, man, you want to talk controlling your destiny. They've got a 4-point lead on the Panthers now, a 3-point lead on the Lightning, and they play each of those teams. Like, they are literally in control of their own destiny here. They are in the driver's seat. They are going to determine where they finish and who they play.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, did you even see the third line on the ice?
I thought Max had a pretty good game. I thought Max had a pretty good game, but again, Scotty Lawton really didn't really notice him. And then Calle Yarncroc. Like, he's been the same since he arrived here. He's not a flashy hockey player. I think head coaches like him for his defensive game. But yeah, the David Kampf ended up leaving the game with an injury.
Biggest story of the night.
Well, we've been talking about how they're going to deploy the bottom six, and if David Kampf is out for a significant period of time, then we'll have to wait and see. Like, maybe that answers our question.
Yeah. Pontus Holmberg.
Pontus Holmberg, indeed. Yeah. I want to go back to the Nyes goal for a second. Beauty finish. Matt Nyes. What's Matt Nyes' cap hit going to be?
8.5.
8.5. You're sticking with it. 8.5 on a bridge or 8.5.
Yeah, he's going to be cute.
With some term.
He's going to be cute like Austin Matthews, and
he's going to sign like a 3-year deal.
There's no 7-8 year deal here. You're looking at a max 4-year contract and a cap hit around $8.5 million for Matthew Nyes.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, Marner with the setup, and it's just, you got to take your hat off to the guy. We're all sitting here wondering where he is, and he comes out. And he shows up, and that line, the Matthew, I thought the second line dominated up until the third period, and then the first line took over in the third period.
Remember a couple seasons ago, we had Nick Richard on when we actually had guests on this podcast.
And then we realized that you and I are not Larry King, and us interviewing people's not the most enjoyable thing to listen to. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. So, and we were kind of gauging the prospect pool. Like, what do they have? What can we look forward to? And we have a tendency to put too much expectation on a guy who's perceived as the highest rated prospect in the organization. And I think if you were to I think what Matthew Nyes has become and what everyone thought he was going to be, it's pretty incredible. I think he's exceeded expectations, and it's been everything that this franchise and this fan base could ask for in terms of what was sold to them with Matthew Nyes and what we've received. Because what a hockey player, man. You're looking at a guy who's a big, tough, physical dude who can score 30 goals a year. Like this is a
unicorn
you got to hold on to.
He's a unicorn. And he's the type of player, too, that I'm willing to, I guess, if you want to say overpay, I'm willing to overpay him because I just think he has physical attributes. Like, that's the difference between him and some of these other guys is the guy's a fucking horse. Like, this is a unicorn hockey player. Like, we've seen him do it all. He can skate, he can hit. We've seen him fight. He's got hands. He can score. The beginning of the year, everyone's like, "Oh, he wasn't a big scorer in college," and it's like the guy goes out there this year and it's just he's been incredible. You mentioned the stat earlier that if he doesn't score, they usually don't win.
Yeah, and he scores in all different ways too. He's banged in ugly ones. He's put in beauties. He's the one tonight was a nice goal. He scores in all a variety of different ways. He's isn't a one-trick pony just waiting in front of the net for rebounds. He can put it in from anywhere. So I mean, I think it's an amazing story. If you're looking on a more positive side, that you just really needed him to be something, and he is something. And here he is producing in the big leagues.
This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going. But that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out and games left for you to get in the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
I want to revisit a question that I asked you a couple of days ago on the show. Is Anthony Stolarz the front runner to be the game one starter for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
See, yesterday I would have said, I don't know. But after today, I go, yes.
Yeah.
Because he's the most recent goalie to play well in a big game. And that's what it's going to decide who the number one goalie is.
I just feel better about him than I do about Joe Wall, man. I've ranted about Joe Wall's ability to stay healthy, but when he is healthy, I like him. I think he looks good. He's got tons of potential, and when he plays well, he looks really good. But there's just something about the way Stolarz plays the position, his size, his demeanor, I don't know. I just feel better when it's him.
Well, he's technically had a better year. That's number one. He hasn't played as many games, but he's had a better year. And I think just the physical attributes, everyone gets all hot and bothered by that as well. So but if Stolarz goes out in game one and sucks, then they're
going to go to Wall. Well, did you hear Berube today when somebody asked him about his opinion on a tandem, like using goalie tandem in the playoffs?
Yeah.
And he just was like, it's not something I've ever done before. And it was just very clear, like, hell no, I'm not using a goalie tandem in the playoffs. I will if I'm forced to.
It's like, you go into game one, you win. What are you going to look at that guy and go, sorry, we're going to Wall?
The Bruins did it last year. The Bruins did it last year. Yeah. But then what happened? They ended up going back to Swayman because he was the better goalie. But yeah, at this point in time, I think if you got Craig Berube in a candid moment, he would say Anthony Stolarz at this point in time. I feel like
everybody is saying Anthony Stolarz. So it's to me, it's unless he gets injured or he has a couple shit performances down the stretch here, I think I think after tonight, he won a big game, so he's the front runner.
Any other observations from the game this evening?
No, I'm really happy they got a dub. I mean, I will say that John Tavares on that second line is, to me, all the difference in the way how good that line looks. Like he's just got like an extra gear going on right now. And it's nice that he's actually putting in goals, but he is like being a lot heavier on the puck in the offensive zone. I gotta give credit to Nylander too. When Nylander really wants to be engaged, he is a turnover machine in the positive sense in the neutral zone. Like when he actually like hangs back and starts looking for pucks to turn over, he can turn over pucks and go the other way very quickly. And then you have McMann darting down with speed, and he can get by a guy. I'm really at that line. It's just so funny to me how it's just like we've seen it before, and it was like, oh, it doesn't really work. We got to find other things, and then they get put together. And to me, it's the biggest difference of their team right now. That line is just like it's incredible. He's
having an incredible season in the face-off circle as well.
It's not even just like the goal. Obviously, if he had 0 goals in the past 15 games, I would probably think different. But it's just, I don't know. It seems like he's just a little more, like he's just like heavy on pucks, and he's like getting into dirty areas, and not just to score, just to like win pucks back. I think that line, because remember him and Nylander played together for a long stretch last year and the past couple seasons, and it's like, well, these guys just don't really mesh that well. But like Willie's Willie, he's always going to play kind of Willie's game. It's just like all of a sudden Tavares has just found another gear in his mid 30s out of nowhere.
Ryan, this is the truth of the matter, and we've said this before in this show. If the Toronto Maple Leafs are a car, and you open the hood and you look under it, there's a number 88 jersey in there, because this dude is the engine of this team. I'm sorry, he is. When he decides that he wants to play the way he played tonight, they win. And he drives the bus, and he creates offense, and he does all the things that you just said. He is the straw that stirs the drink with this Leaf team. I'm sorry, I've seen enough. He's the engine. He's the motor, like 100%.
Yeah, he's a really, really unique player. He's just Mr. Swag out there. And when he really wants to get it going, he really gets it going. And he can do it on both sides of the puck, too. I know Marner and Matthews get tons of love, and Nylander is always kind of cheating for that breakaway. But when that guy really wants to hang back and pick off pucks, he can do it as good as anybody.
I don't want to take this. I don't want to have like a negative convo about this. I just want to kind of get your take on it really quickly before we get out of here. Scotty Laughton. It's just another game where it's like it's been really tough since they brought him in here, and I feel bad for the guy. Like we've said it a bunch of times, I feel bad for him. Guys living out of a hotel, it's a huge like uprooting of his life. But again tonight, it's like there's not a ton bad you can say about this game tonight, but I look at Scotty Laughton and I'm like, you're just another night where this guy he's just not a factor, like at all.
I go back to what I said a couple episodes. I don't know what Scott Laughton is. He's got his career high in goals is 18. Like, what are we expecting from this guy? Like, is he like, what are you looking for when he's out there? Like, he's not going to produce offense in the regular season. So, and that third line is a bit of you brought him in to fix the third line, but it's clear that that third line is just never going to be fixed. It's just, you're going to hope that one game it produces, one game it doesn't produce. To me, the only reason why you brought Scott Laughton in, and the only thing you can hope for is you're hoping for everybody's favorite thing to reference, that Nick Paul moment, that somehow this guy can just put in an ugly one in a big game in the playoffs. That's why you brought him in here.
Yeah, I look at him and I think to myself, like, if this guy wasn't a trade deadline acquisition and he wasn't still kind of shiny and new, I think people would be saying, this guy, you need to bench this guy. Like, this guy needs to be up in the press box because he's doing nothing. But I think because he's still a new piece and people are still hoping that he'll get it figured out, that's not really being said about him. But yeah, it's tough. I feel bad for the guy, and he needs to get it figured out, because you didn't give up a first round pick for this guy to come in and be invisible like this.
Well, they just got sucked into making a deal. Like,
Yeah,
they also didn't have to go make this deal.
it's true.
They could have just done what we said they should have done in the first place and not done it. But no, they had to go get somebody. So it's like, I don't think he was worth a first round pick. I never said that he was. Like, I just don't understand what people are expecting from this guy. Like, I don't know anything about him. He just kind of skates up and down the ice. He's not going to produce offense. That third line is just such an identity crisis. How many iterations of that third line have we seen this year? The only constant is Max Domi's there. Like, that's the only thing.
And he's playing a lot better.
In and out. Like, it's just, they're not a heavy line. They're not a defensive line. They're not really an offensive line. Like, at one point with McMann, Robertson, Domi, they were kind of offensive. But other than that, it's just like, it's a bunch of dudes just thrown on the ice together. And it's, what the hell are we doing here? So my expectation for that line and the fourth line is so low. So low because
Max has been a lot better lately.
I'm watching the third period. Did they even get on the ice? Like, it was just the top two lines.
It was a lot of. Well, that's what Berube does, man. When it gets into crunch time like that, it's just he's just throwing the big boys over the boards over and over and over again. All right, well, I think we're going to get out of here now. We will be back on Sunday to discuss the Leafs Saturday night showdown with the Columbus Blue Jackets, another team that is in a fight for their lives for a wild card position. So that'll be another hungry team coming in there. So they got to be ready for that. They want to keep this points buffer in the division. So every game matters from here on out. You can't be throwing points away if you seriously want to win this division. So as I said, we'll be back on Sunday to talk about that one. And now that the playoffs are clinched, that means post-game shows. We will be doing a post-game show after every single Leafs playoff game. So if you'd like to join us for those, hit the like and subscribe button below. If you're listening to the audio version, please do the same.
Spread the word, tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We will see you guys on Sunday.